The Opinion Line. Cork's 96 FM.
Cobh Ramblers are celebrating a very important week. We've talked on the programme before about Frederick Douglass and his amazing connection to Cork. And there's been a move underway to get a proper memorial for the man in Cork. And there's a whole week now to celebrate his story and his legacy. And Cobh Ramblers are to take part in it. I'm joined on the phone by Karen Doyle and Mary McDonald, who'll be on the panel at an event coming up next weekend. To you first, Karen. Good morning to you.
Hi, PJ. How are you?
Good. A few years ago, it's fair to say a lot of people had never heard of Frederick Douglass. And then his story gained traction. Remind us again what the story is.
Well, I didn't know much about Frederick Douglass myself, actually, PJ. I know we touched on it probably at school, and you'd hear a little bit throughout the years about him and his anti-slavery abolitionist movement, you know, that he was. Frederick Douglass was a man way ahead of his time. Even now, I find it astonishing, all the things and the obstacles that he overcame. You know, he was an amazing man. He was an activist, an author. He really and truly came from slavery. He escaped, having learned how to write. He taught other slaves how to read at Bible studies. You know, at a time when you can imagine how difficult that must have been in itself. Now, mind then going on to write amazing books, speak to crowds of thousands, and then take a journey over to Ireland at the invitation, I think, of Daniel O'Connell, who and then spent a number of months here 175 years ago visiting various cities. And he really said that when he visited Ireland, it was the first time that he felt that he was treated as a man rather than a person of colour, that people really saw him. And I think we're really moved by him and by his plight, because of course Ireland at that time was going through its own horror stories. The famine, I think, had begun, and you know, we had Daniel O'Connell fighting for nationalism. There was all this kind of stuff going on, but this man really captured the imagination of and told the story of the slave and what was happening.
He was a man of extraordinary bravery, wasn't he? Because back then, for even thinking the things he used to say, a person of colour like himself could be locked up. Absolutely. But he had the courage to say these things in public.
And spoke so eloquently. You know, one of the quotes he says, and I just think it's fantastic, you know, it is easier to build strong children than repair broken men. I mean, that is as relevant today as it was 175 years ago, you know, when you think about it. Yeah. He just had a beautiful way with words that I think move people into action. And we are so thrilled to be able to host the sports strand of this event at Cobh Ramblers. It's a great honour. We have a fantastic lineup. I know Mary will speak a bit now.
Yeah, she's there on the other line. Hi, Mary.
Yeah. How you doing, Peter?
Hi, Mary McDonald, ladies captain at Cobh Ramblers. What is the event? It's an unusual one for a football club to have a panel event like this. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so I suppose when you look at the game in recent years, I think a big thing, I suppose, the side of it for me is the inequality within the game for women, and I think a huge part of it has come up a lot in the media over the last 2 years. When you look at the 20 by 20 campaign that was ran, you know, and I know obviously because of COVID they couldn't get the full results of it, and the whole thing about that was to get 20% increase on participation, media coverage, attendances, you know, and I think it just shows that there is still problems within the game. And I think these are some of the things, like I said, Frederick Douglass was around 100 years ago, but he was way ahead of his time. So these were still issues that back then, inequality, racism, all these issues still exist today. Yeah. Especially within the game.
Now, it's an interesting panel that you got lined up.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And I think it will garner a really good discussion. And I think the discussion is very timely, given everything that's happening in the world, and especially in sports, especially one of the biggest movements in the world at the minute is the Black Lives Matter movement. And I think that we are having this discussion at a time when it needs to be had, and I think it's good. Our panel members will be, we have Dr. Adrian Mulligan, first of all. He is from Bucknell University. He'll just give a quick overview about Frederick Douglass himself. But a panel discussion then will be Brendan Ogle of Unite, TJ Hogan from the East Cork Traveller Project, Mary McDonald, obviously, she's going to be there, and Adam Ida, international player, he's going to be on the panel as well. And we have a pre-recorded question and answers from Irish international players, Christy, which will be very interesting,
And Brendan Ogle from the Unite Union is there as well.
Yeah. Now, he'll be speaking about the Champions Cup and unity over diversity. So it will be a really, really good, lively discussion. We want everybody to come on and have a look at it, PJ. It's this lockdown has been dreadful for a lot of people. People might be bored looking for something a little bit different. Well, this is different, and it's also timely, as I said. And I think it's important that the message goes out to all the boys and girls out there who are involved in sports in any way, that Cobh Ramblers, and I know many other clubs will be the same, but Cobh Ramblers in particular, as we're coming up to our centenary next year, we want young people to know that we believe in them. We want them to believe in themselves. We want them to know that there's a place they can belong at Cobh Ramblers, and that as adults and leaders in our community, that we are going to ensure that no child is left behind, and that racism is given the red card, and that we want to do that, but we can only do that together as a community, and remembering those children and remembering how important it is that they don't feel the brunt of racist comments.
Mary, you mentioned the inclusivity of women in sport. Yeah. Are things changing?
They definitely are, PJ. I think even, like I said, that 2020 campaign, they couldn't get the full results of it. But I remember they did a study. I remember reading a study at the halfway point, and obviously the whole point of it was to try increase the three things: the media coverage, attendances, and participation within the game by 20% on each. And I remember at the halfway point they did a study, and it was 57% of people were reading more about women's sports, 38% were attending more female events, and there was 27% increase in girls and women participating in the sport. And I think that's what Karen touched on as well with Cobh Ramblers. I think we're entering the Women's National League next year. But obviously that's an elite standard in Ireland for women. But a message we want to get across from Cobh Ramblers is that we will still have a Cork senior team in the Cork League. So they're for a girl can come join our club at 4, and there will be every level of football for her from 4 all the way up to adult age. No matter what her ability, no matter what her level, that level of football will be there for her at Cobh Ramblers, because we are a community club and we want to be inclusive of absolutely everybody.
Yeah. How can people get involved in the event at the weekend?
So I know, if you go to Cobh Ramblers' webpage, there's a link is up there to register for the Eventbrite, and I think Karen, they're going to stream it live as well. Yeah,
they will be streaming it live on the night, but we want everybody to participate in it. So if they click on the link, now it's absolutely free as well, PJ, which is brilliant,
Great.
So just click on the link. You'll then be in the room, so to speak, the virtual room with us. Now, of course, if people don't manage to do that, to get on the link, it will be shown live on the night itself. It's at 7 to 8 p.m. It's something lovely to do. The family can sit down together and watch this, and hopefully get the community involved in Ramblers as we go forward into our centenary.
Great. Well, good luck with that, and good luck with everything. The Frederick Douglass event at the weekend, and indeed with the upcoming season, Cobh Ramblers FC, and of course Cork's 96 FM, proud partners of Cobh Ramblers. And what a mouth-watering opener to the season. First division, Cork City against Cobh Ramblers in a local derby. We haven't had one of them for a few years, which is lovely to see. Pity we can't have a crowd there to see it on the night, unfortunately. I remember when they were the biggest games of the season, when you had a local derby between Cork City and Cobh Ramblers, you couldn't get into it.
Cork's 96 FM.